Yo, what's up, wrestling fans? It's your boy E here on the mic with all your wrestling factoids, your one-stop shop for all your wrestling news. And, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today lined up. We have our Monday Night Raw review. We're going to talk a little bit about WWE NXT preview. It's spring break in week 2. We're gonna, kind of lead into segment 3. We're gonna talk about our the historic WWE tag team breakups that ultimately kind of failed. Like, let's just be blunt. Let's just be absolutely honest with each other and be like, yeah, that was bad. That was bad. And to cap it all off, fourth segment, we're going to talk about WWE introducing a new women's title, the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Well, not really. I'm basically, I'm going to give you guys like the reasons why I feel like they should have a women's intercontinental championship or something like equivalent to it, just so like I don't know, we have the do's and the don'ts and all that kind of stuff. But before we do anything else, before we go on and talk about anything in terms of wrestling, I want to remind you guys that we get a number of questions that come in during the show from viewers like you. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask you guys to use the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net with your questions. Let's put your questions up on top so I can see it. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. This episode's chock full with a lot of opinionated statements. So, of course, also objective as well. So make sure I want to hear you guys. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear, I know I'm the host, and I know the GSMC Podcast Network owns the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, and I'm the host. But ultimately, you guys own the podcast. The audience has the power. I am nothing without you guys. So it'd be awesome to hear you guys' feedback. Once again, the link is at the GSMC podcast.net. So all right, let's go ahead and move on to our first segment. We're going to go ahead and jump right on into it. We have our WWE Monday Night Raw review. The last draft night 2, there was 6 rounds. And I guess there was also some draft picks that were drafted after Raw went off the air like that, Jack. But, it was pretty cool. So Raw absolutely started off with a huge bang. Logan Paul was seen, the megastar was seen with the Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yesterday on Monday Night Raw, they were in Kansas City. So, seeing him there was a bit of a shocker, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? Wrestling is like so big and it's such a fandom and it's such a conglomerate that, I'm not too surprised that I saw Patty Mahomes there. But, who, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm not a Chiefs fan. I respect a dynasty, and I think the Chiefs are kind of heading toward that in terms of like Andy Reid is killing it from head coach. This is a football podcast, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I'm just going to say that the Kansas City Chiefs, they're a good team. They're a great team. They did it last year without any star wide receivers, able to win the big one. A lot of people doubted them when they had kind of like a mediocre like record where they lost. I believe they lost Didn't they lose against the Jets? No, I think the Jets almost beat them. I think on Sunday Night Football. Don't quote me on that. But ultimately, it was cool to see Patrick Mahomes there. Absolutely awesome when you see the NFL and WWE kind of mesh. Super cool. Want to see something like that again. So, so Logan Paul was seen with the Judgment Day as well as Patrick Mahomes. Logan Paul told Damian Priest that Monday Night Raw is ran by the Judgment Day. Um, and honestly, it's true. It's 1,010% true that right now the Judgment Day is kind of over. Well, not like over, not yet, but they're kind of like they're kind of on the tippity top of the totem pole. They set the standard. Finn Balor, JD McDonough, Dirty Dom, Rhea Ripley before she got injured, and Damian Priest, the WWE World's Heavyweight Champion. So the show started off pretty good. I thought it started off really, really good. You had Michael Cole and Pat McAfee kind of, talking up the mic, kind of freestyling it. And honestly, I kind of want to mention something. Michael Cole seemed like he was a little squirrely today. It seemed like he was like he kind of assumed that role as like an NFL, Major League Baseball, or like a, kind of like a basketball announcer in terms of the playoffs or the draft. So good for him. Good for him. And I believe I want to say that it's because of his partner Pat McAfee, obviously the host of the Pat McAfee Show, a popular podcast. You guys should check it out. It's pretty dope. But I don't know. I feel like he kind of helped him. Like I think before they went on air, he was like, "Michael, this is what you gotta do. You just gotta loosen up, man. You just gotta loosen up. You need to just let the crowd just feed into it, like use their momentum and just create words and just actions that make the crowd feel like they're into it. Because I feel like that's like the whole reason why Michael Cole kind of seemed a little squirrely today. Because I was like, oh my god, usually Michael Cole's not really like that. He's usually not really like that, like outspoken, that like he's enthusiastic, of course, but it was like a different type of enthusiasm tonight. So honestly, I credit Pat McAfee for getting him out of his comfort zone. So good for him. Absolutely. And then the man Becky Lynch came out and she said this was where the man was born, in Kansas City, Missouri. And of course, who comes out when the world women's champion is out? Of course, it's Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan comes out hungry and just ready as ever. I love Liv Morgan. But she issued a challenge to Becky Lynch, and then Nia Jax came out. It was just, it was just one of those things where I was like, all right, she came out, and she came out. All right, let's try to consolidate it all together and find out what we really want here. So I honestly kind of thought it was kind of heading toward maybe like a triple threat match for the WWE World Women's Championship, which I've mentioned before in past podcasts that triple threat matches are kind of like the way, like an easy way out for the champion to kind of weasel their way and get the dub. But ultimately, Liv Morgan and Nia Jax ended up fighting. So we'll get into that a little later. So. Nia Jax wanted to make her presence known her last night on Raw. And yeah, and then the draft started. Stephanie McMahon came out, which is, it was cool. It was cool to see Steph come out. Obviously, Paul Levesque's wife, the daughter of Vince McMahon. But right now, I feel like WWE and TKO promotions they're done with Vince McMahon. I think they're done with Nick Khan too, because Nick Khan, sold all of his stocks in TKO as well. So, definitely might be something coagulating there. Maybe. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but let's. I'm just kidding. No. But ultimately, I thought it was cool to see Steph out there, representing the company, that her father built, but kind of tore down based on his lackluster creative, like when he was in charge of it all. But, I'm not trying to dog anybody here. Not trying to dog anybody here. What's our philosophy at the GSMC Sports Network? Peace, love, and positivity. So let's just stick to the show. So then the draft started. Raw drafted Gunther, also drafted Damage Control, and I thought it was pretty cool how they drafted Damage Control. I knew eventually that they were going to keep Damage Control away from Bailey, so that Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Asuka, and Kairi Sane will most likely kick it. I feel like they're going to kick out Dakota Kai, and I think eventually Asuka is going to jump into that singles wrestler mode in the women's division, and then ultimately you're going to see Kairi Sane and Io Sky like kind of be the new Kabuki Warriors, which it's not bad. I'm not trying to say that Io Sky's not big enough to jump right back into the WWE Women's main card. I'm not trying to say that at all. When she was a champion, she was dominant. She was entertaining as hell. And she just knew how to be a champion. She knew how to tease the crowd. She knew how to post on social media. I remember she posted on Twitter and she did a whole bunch of live feeds and stuff like that. She just kept the crowd very engaged. That's definitely something about Io Sky that I absolutely respect. So, of course, kudos to that. That's awesome. Next, SmackDown drafted. Of course, we saw this coming. A storm is coming. Jade Cargill is drafted to WWE SmackDown. Not much of honestly, I don't feel like that's much of a surprise, despite the fact. I kind of wish that, I don't want to say she wasn't, because I don't want to see her and Bianca Belair have a WWE Women's Tag Team title run. And I know I might be, I know people, I know you guys out there probably disagree with me on this, but these are two top singles wrestlers. They don't belong in the WWE Women's Tag Team title talk. Of course, if they did, they would kick ass and dominate, but no one wants to see that. For me, I know I don't want to see that. But like I said, I am a wrestling fan of its own kind. And I would rather see these two physical specimens, these two amazing women, these amazing wrestlers, these amazing personalities just go at it and just build something toward SummerSlam, build something toward WrestleMania, build something other than a WWE World Women's title reign. But, who knows? Maybe they'll make it prestigious. Maybe they'll, kind of have that storyline where they're together, they win the championship ultimately, and in the end, they end up losing it, causing them to kind of feud, go at each other, nitpick at each other, ultimately like having disagreeing sides, causing a feud, which leads into WrestleMania or something like that. That would be pretty cool. If that's the case, then I'm for it. All right, so SmackDown also drafted Kevin Owens, which was nice. It was, I think, Kevin Owens was one of the draft picks in my mock draft that I actually picked correct. So hey, yeah, Eric did something right. What's up? What's up? What's up? Like that. I don't know. I just feel like Kevin Owens belongs on the show. He's not going to go anywhere that the bloodline's not going to be. I feel like that's like a home run rivalry right there. Kevin Owens is so outspoken. He's so passionate. And now he's teaming with Randy Orton. And like I said, we'll get into that a little later. Like I said, and then we're going to go on with the draft. We had Raw drafting CM Punk, and Braun Strowman, the monster among men, is back on the WWE Raw roster. He didn't come out anything like Uncle Howdy or anything like that. So I'm wondering if like maybe that Uncle Howdy's going to make his return with a couple of stablemates, and then eventually maybe they'll try to pursue or try to convince Braun to join their stable. Perhaps that's where they're going with it. And SmackDown drafted the Pride, which consisted of Bobby Lashley, the Street Profits, and BFAB, KFAB. No, I don't know. Sorry if I butchered that. If you're watching this KFAB or BFAB, I'm sorry. But this just shows, honestly, this shows that the Street Profits will probably, in the end, dethrone the SmackDown tag team. Well, no, they're not that anymore. I think they're the WWE tag team title owners, the A-Town Down Under. And honestly, I can't wait to see that happen. And I'm not trying to be mean. I like Grayson Waller. I like Austin Theory. I think that they're like United States Intercontinental like level right here. But to be honest, I feel like they're not a tag team. They're not a tag team. When they won the belts at WrestleMania in that ladder match, which it was a great ladder match, but ultimately I don't like it. I don't like it. No me gusta. Este no me gusta, man. No me gusta. I'd rather see them as singles wrestlers fighting, and I think you should leave the tag team division being the tag team division. The Street Profits deserve another chance. The last time they lost their titles, it was against I I want to say it was against the Usos. No, they tried to fight the Usos for the tag team titles and they came up short. But I think before then they lost it to Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode. Don't quote me on that. But that's just so old. They need a new title run. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So then Raw went on to pick, and you had the APA come out, which was pretty cool. John Bradshaw Layfield and Farouk Ron Simmons. And then you saw them draft the LWO and Drew McIntyre. Pretty cool for Raw. And for SmackDown, they drafted Legado del Fantasma and Shinsuke Nakamura, which is good for SmackDown. Shinsuke Nakamura, I believe, deserves a second chance. I know, like, as soon as he came out from WWE NXT, he was a little over with the crowd, fought against AJ Styles at that WrestleMania, low blowed him. Uh, kind of a bad move for WWE creative to kind of have Shinsuke kind of go heel in that moment. But, at the same time, maybe it was a different time back in the day. Like I wasn't in the war room talking about, in terms of the NFL draft. I'm not in the conference room talking in terms of Vince McMahon and the, creative officers and stuff like that. But right now, Paul Levesque has control, and I feel like he's going to do right by Shinsuke Nakamura and probably put him in a title match or the title picture in terms of the United States Championship. So, Logan Paul, watch out, bro. Um, All right, next we're moving on. So then Raw has another round. We have Judgment Day. Obviously, we all knew that the Judgment Day, full of blood, bound for glory, obviously was going to wind up back on the red brand. Then you also have, of course, I knew this was another pick that I picked right. Both of those picks I picked right. We had Ilya Dragunov, and honestly, I liked it. I liked a lot how WWE NXT, all the superstars were kind of sit down. They were lined up. Ultimately, they've kind of made it seem and kind of made it fixtured that the WWE NXT is kind of like the draft pool, kind of like a Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Drake May, and Marvin Harrison Jr. They kind of made it seem like that because everybody was all hugging and it was cool. Kayfabe was totally out the window. You saw Trick Williams clap for his opponent Ilya Dragunov. So I liked it, but at the same time, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought there was nothing wrong with that. Absolutely dope. Sometimes it's cool to see wrestlers kind of, break out of character and kind of just support their fellow man. All right. So, also, you saw Naomi be drafted to SmackDown, which figures because they're trying to build up that Naomi and Bailey and Tiffany Stratton match at Backlash. And then you also saw Chelsea Green and Piper Niven get drafted to WWE SmackDown, which was surprising. Adam Pearce was probably the most ecstatic I've ever seen him been. And it's I thought they were going to make their way back to NXT, but honestly, I feel like this is a good move. This is a good move. Chelsea Green has kind of wore out her welcome in terms of WWE Raw. But then again, Jade Cargill is on SmackDown roster, so I don't know what they're planning to do with that tag team. But I hope ultimately they do whatever it takes to kind of just let the world see their abilities, as wrestlers, kind of just as performers, as entertainers, and just I don't know, just do right by your talent, bro. That's all you can do. And another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on was that so WWE has a draft chime, which is kind of like the NFL, the dun 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 dun, and that means your picks are in. So honestly, I thought that was kind of crazy. I'm kind of running out of time here, so kind of run through it. So Gunther, defeated Xavier Woods tonight. He made Woods tap out. Also, Logan Paul interrupted Jey Uso. Pat Mahomes gave him Super Bowl rings to try to push him and take him out. He mistakenly hit JD McDonough Judgment Day, so I thought that was pretty funny. One quick thing, we're gonna talk about Braun Strowman being drafted. Absolutely, 110%. He's probably the last big man of the generation in terms of the Paul Levesque era, meaning the Vince McMahon era. So obviously they have some pretty big things planned for Braun Strowman, which is good. The Braun Strowman has been within the WWE for so very long. He's paid his dues. He's worked his arse off. So 110% he should be given absolute compensation for just his time in WWE through all the bullshit and just through everything. So I'm happy that they kept Braun. Next up, we're gonna Braun Strowman versus Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn was seen taking out Chad Gable for his match for his Intercontinental Championship match, and then Chad Gable came in and interrupted their match, causing Bronson Reed to get pissed and take out both superstars. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, then you see CM Punk confront Drew McIntyre, and it was crazy because he said, obviously, I think CM Punk is a step above everybody else on the Raw roster in terms of preparing for Netflix, where WWE doesn't have to be so PG. Obviously, he's using cuss words and he's tormenting Drew McIntyre, and we even got a by Ron Simmons, which was absolutely astronomical. It was definitely one of the highlights of my night. Used to love seeing Ron Simmons, Farouk go out there and just say, I don't know. I just thought it was pretty cool. I'm sorry if I hurt your ears if you guys are listening to this on audio. I apologize, but I just get so excited with the dams. Next, we have Alpha Academy. Maxine Dupree was excited that she eliminated some people on the Battle Royal last Monday night for the WWE World Women's Championship. And then Chad Gable was like, "What are you trying to do, man? What are you doing? Are you trying to celebrate mediocrity? Like, what are you doing? Like, Chad Gable, like, what are you doing, man? Like, I love Chad Gable, and I think any kind of role he's in right now, yeah, I think it's good. But I don't know, it's kind of crazy. Absolutely. And the only reason why Maxine Dupree lost against Candice LeRae was because Indy Hartwell attacked Ivy Nile on the side of the apron and just totally messed everything up. Definitely, those are bad girls, man. We have the LWO Silver War. So since the LWO was drafted to the WWE Raw, ultimately Carlito was involved in that package. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in terms of the Carlito Dragon Lee situation, what Ray wants to do in terms of his group in disarray, and then of course then you kind of saw Legado del Fantasma's leader Santos Escobar come out, and you know he's just such an antagonist. He's such a jerk. And then Dirty Dom, just to put the sprinkles on top of the cupcake, Dirty Dom came out and tried tormenting his dad, and his dad mentioned something that was pretty badass. And something that's gonna, something pretty cool that was kind of like on the low radar, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, did he just say that? Did he just say that?" He's like, he called Dirty Dom's mustache a Dirty Sanchez. If you know, you know. If you don't know, look it up on YouTube. It's not my position as a podcast host to teach you what a Dirty Sanchez is. But, moving on from that. So I thought that was actually pretty darn funny. Then you had the match with Nia Jax and Liv Morgan. Nia Jax was impressive throughout the whole entire matchup. Liv Morgan botched two moves. Classic Liv. That's kind of I love Liv Morgan. I'm not a Liv Morgan hater. And I know with Nia Jax, she's kind of like like a bigger like personnel. But dude, you gotta hit your moves, man. You gotta hit your spots. If you don't, you're gonna injure yourself, someone else, or just produce bad TV. And I feel like Liv Morgan, I feel like that's the reason why probably WWE Creative is kind of holding off on like Liv, like, you're gonna get a title shot, but let's just give you some more time in the ring. Like, you know what I mean? So then Tiffany Stratton and Naomi they were attacking each other, kind of brawled out on the outside. Then you kind of saw Devon Dudley and Bully Ray come out where they drafted the New Day on Raw. Also Lyra Valkyrie, La Valkyria, and then SmackDown drafted Pretty Deadly and Candice LeRae and Hartwell. So I thought that was pretty cool. So their last round, it was pretty cool. You saw Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce come out. Raw drafted The Final Testament and Bronson Reed, while SmackDown drafted DIY and Blair Davenport, which was actually pretty surprising. Good for Blair Davenport. But then run out of time. Sorry. Awesome Truth fought Alpha Academy. Alpha Academy lost. Not Chad Gable was not happy. Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch had a face off for the future. And then you had that 6-man tag team match, which basically just aided to the point that the Judgment Day are in turmoil week after week after week, just miscommunications. Pretty soon, the bomb's going to explode and ultimately lead to the Judgment Day's demise. But yeah, so that was my WWE Raw review. Took a little longer than expected, like a lot longer than expected. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about our WWE NXT Spring Break-In Week 2 preview. So don't go anywhere.